The great and terrible hunger is upon me.
Open wide, here comes the world ship.
I have never felt more humiliated. I spoke too soon.
Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. You know, with the diaper, he kind of looks like a DC Multiverse figure. It's Thanksgiving week, and what better time to spotlight the insatiable HasLab Galactus Devourer of Worlds. Starting off with the packaging, and it's one of those windowless boxes. All joking aside, this is an absolute work of art, and being part of the HasLab, we even got to vote on it. The name and logo is designed to look like a comic book. I like the HasLab 2 in the corner. Shame issue 3 got cancelled. On the side, we see Frankie Ray, Silver Surfer, and Morg. And as for those characters, here we have the Surfer. Here we have Frankie Ray Nova, and way overdue if I might add, and Morg. The sides look like paneling from Galactus' world ship. Lots of Kirby-esque lines and squiggles throughout, and then we get some more pretty cool artwork on the back. Clearly some more details from Galactus' ship, and a landscape that could serve as a pretty nice backdrop. Cracking it open, we can see just how well packed this thing is. Here's Johnny! Lots of goodies to go over, and for packaging, I'm giving Galactus 1 whole point. Moving on to presentation, and Galactus stands at a gargantuan 32 inches. He's even bigger than the HasLab Sentinel, which I sadly missed out on. One day! From the top, and Galactus has his signature tuning fork helmet. All the details you'd want to be there are there, but they also added a few extra panels and other bits and bobs to make it a bit more intricate. Not only is the skin sculpted to look a bit more weather, but there's also some extra paint applications to bring out that detail as well. Moving on down, the top of his harness is a harder plastic, but the straps are a softer plastic to accommodate the articulation. A few more embellishments here and there. Also some nice gears and tech detail and the totally not an arc reactor thing in the middle of his chest. Moving down the arm, we see even more panels and doodads in his gauntlets, and especially his hands. One of my favorite details is how they made the fingertips look almost rubberized. Of course, down here we have his kilt or skirt or whatever you want to call it. Again, lots of extra detail and piping. And then moving all the way down, they've done a great job on his boots. Just like in the comics, they have these tubes and ridges. Looking underneath, he obviously doesn't have any peg holes, but he does have some other cool detail. Spinning Galactus around, and there's just as much to see back here. Again, we see all the paneling for the helmet. This blue spot is a button to activate his lighting. We'll look at that during playability. And again, just lots more cool straps and panels in the back of his harness. For presentation, Galactus most definitely gets 1 whole point. Moving on to posability, and Galactus' head snaps onto this box which is connected to a ball joint. This is the highest he can look up, and the farthest he can look down. I'm assuming that the limitations are due to the electronic components. Moving on down, he has swivel hinge shoulders that raise up this far, bicep swivel, pinless double jointed elbows that can bend this far, swivel hinge wrists, and fully articulated fingers. This is accomplished with each joint of each finger being a swivel hinge. In fact, there's even a butterfly joint here in the meaty part of the palm. That allows the thumb to hinge in a lot more naturally. You can't fan the fingers out, but you can flex them into just about any gesture you can think of. And knowing my audience, I'm sure there's one gesture you're all thinking of. A peace sign, because you're all so darn friendly.
Look at me, I'm Spider-Man. Rock on! Made you look.
Shifting the torso, and Galactus has a diaphragm joint and a reverse ab crunch. Using both, he can hunch forward this far, which is pretty decent given all the rigmarole he's wearing, and he can arch back this far. He also gets a fair amount of tilt and twist. Peeking under his skirt, we can see Galactus has ball-jointed hips and thigh cut. Fortunately, these panels are nice and flexible. He can kick forward this far. He also has pinless double-jointed knees that bend this deep, and then moving all the way down the leg, and Galactus has boot cut rotation, and ankles that can hinge and pivot. And in honor of the late great Glenn Webb, here's the lowest that Galactus can go with both feet on the ground. While the range in his joints is nothing special, the sheer number of them more than makes up for it. For posability, I'm giving Galactus 1 whole point. Moving on to playability, and in addition to this stern look, he also comes with a couple of interchangeable faceplates. There's a toothy one for when he's really hangry, and this skull face, which if I'm not mistaken is from the Thanos imperative. If I'm wrong though, feel free to let me know in the comments. That said, it's not nearly as creepy as his head without any face whatsoever. Not gonna lie, he does look kinda happy. But if all that wasn't enough, he also comes with an alternate Doctor Doom head. I'll admit that I don't know what run of the comics this actually comes from, and I'll also admit that I would have rather he just had a regular unmasked head. Still, options are always nice. One of his coolest options are electronic lights. To install the batteries, take the top of his head off, and unscrew this compartment, and then pull back this panel at the base of his neck to reveal that battery compartment. And there we go. To give you just a sense of how bright he is, here it is with some of the lights turned off. As you can see, there's sort of a pulsing, flashing action to it. I would have preferred just a steady on or off option, but this is still pretty awesome. Flipping Galactus around, and he even has some lights on the back. Of course, when you're a larger-than-life figure like Galactus, it just makes sense that your accessories would be smaller action figures. In this case, the Silver Surfer, Nova, and Morg. The new Surfer is virtually identical to the original Walgreens release. He does, however, have an all-new head and is a lighter shade of silver. Obviously, he comes with his board. He also comes with a crackly effect we've seen a bajillion times, along with alternate jazz hands and flight hands. Frankie Ray Nova special because it's the very first one that Hasbro's ever made. In fact, it's the only Nova figure ever made except for this Toy Biz 1 from 1997. The Toy Biz 1 had a pretty cool vacuum metallized finish and articulated fire hair. The new figure's hair isn't articulated, but they did a great job. In fact, there is so much depth between the red and the oranges that I actually think this might be the best action figure fire I've ever seen. While the head is new, the body comes from the Shriek mold. That means that she has bicep swivel and pinless double-jointed elbows and knees. In that regard, it would have been nice for them to put the Surfer on the new Vulcan body so he could have had pinless joints too. But one thing the Surfer does have going for him is that he's actually painted silver, whereas Nova was simply cast in a marbleized plastic. Because of that, you can see lots of swirls all over. Nova comes preloaded with open hands. She also comes with a pair of fists, and for some reason, a pair of accessory holding hands. Since Surfer is just reuse of the Sunfire body and Nova's Shriek, I'm not going to be going over their articulation. That does, however, segue very nicely to Morg, who's a 100% new sculpt. Facially, he's been given lots of personality and also a nice black wash to bring out all that craggy detail. Naturally, he can't look up because of his hair, but he can look down a fair bit. He's got swivel hinge shoulders to raise up this eye. He's also got bicep swivel, pinless double-jointed elbows, and swivel hinge wrists. Shifting to the torso, and because of his giant belt, all he has is a ball joint in the waist. Because of that belt, he can't really hunch forward, but he can arch back a little bit. And then traveling down the legs, he has ball jointed hips, thigh cut, pinless double jointed knees, and ankles that can hinge and pivot. Unlike Surfer and Nova, Morg doesn't have any alternate hands, but he does come with an axe. Come to think of it, since Galactus did have a herald named Terrax who was famous for an axe, you'd think Morg would have a different weapon. That said, Surfer and Nova come with some very cool display bases that allow Galactus to hold them in the palms of his hands. Although the base was made for Nova, you could definitely use it for Firelord or the Dark Phoenix. And wouldn't you know it, but Hasbro is re-releasing her on a retro card. But Playability is more than just action figures having their own action figures to play with. It's also about playing well with others. For the most obvious comparison, here he is side by side the original Toy Biz Build-A-Figure. That said, I don't really have any other figures that big, so here he is with a Halloween pumpkin I never got around to carving. Here he is with a hamper full of dirty laundry. Here he is with the Infinity Gauntlet. Here he is with a lamp, a bag of cat food, a stool, a giant plush Slimer, R2-D2. Actually, these scale pretty well. Now, if only Hasbro would make that gold Galactus. And my Cap Buster. Okay, I'll start taking it seriously. For some super teams, and here we have the Avengers, the West Coast Avengers, the Uncanny X-Men, the Defenders, Spider-Man and his amazing friends, and yeah, those are all the super teams I can think of. Oh wait, I know who I forgot! The Justice League. That's the one you want to see, right? For some other major Marvel villains, and here we have Apocalypse, Magneto, Doctor Doom, Thanos, Dormammu, Null, Onslaught, Kang, and the Red Skull. And for some comparisons of cosmic proportions, here's the Marvel Select Watcher along with the Marvel Legends, Captain Marvel, Cosmic Spider-Man, and Beta Ray Bill. Here's Galactus with his heralds, including Fire-Lord and Thor. And for the second largest thing I ever reviewed on this channel, here he is with the Batmobeast. For just a couple of more fun ones, here he is with Godzilla, the Lantern Toys Alien Queen, and this 26-inch live-action version of The Thing. For a relative scale comparison, here's Galactus with the NECA 18-inch Spider-Man, the Marvel Select Spectacular Spider-Man, Pizza Spidey, and the Marvel Legends 3 3/4-inch version. And as always, here he is with Stealth Iron Man. I can see my house from here. If there was any doubt for playability, Galactus gets 1 whole point. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. Galactus was a HasLab exclusive and cost $400. No more will ever be manufactured. In other words, until such a time as the economy collapses into a feudal hellscape where we trade action figures for groceries, $400 is the cheapest he will ever be. By contrast, the Sentinel was only $350. Without having the Sentinel, I don't feel like I can speak with authority as to which one is the better value. The Sentinel came with 3 heads, whereas Galactus only comes with 2. On the other hand, Galactus does have additional faceplates to add extra value. The Sentinel came with 2 extra figures, but Galactus comes with 3, and one of them is a 100% new sculpt. That includes these really cool custom bases. And then there's also the added height, adding to the cost. As for whether or not that makes Galactus the same value as a 12-foot tall skeleton from Home Depot is a matter of personal opinion, but hey, at least we can all agree that this isn't. Even so, for price, I'm giving Galactus half a point for a grand total of 4.5 out of 5. Now you probably think that I've forgotten about the Fantastic Four. No, I didn't forget. I just think that they're a conversation for another video. For another Herald of Galactus, check out this video on Thor, or for something completely different, check out this one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice, have fun, and happy Thanksgiving.